this next series on Law Made Simple, Q&A with Joshua Irvine, will dive into the legal questions that matter most. Joshua shares straightforward advice cutting through the complexity and focusing on what really matters to you.
For business owners, what's the difference between simply having a will versus having a fully developed estate plan when it comes to passing on their business?
Okay, that's a good question. It's one of those things that I think a lot of business owners neglect to really figure out, because we're never going to die. We're always going to be healthy, and it's always on the to-do list. It never gets done. From a high level, and I'll just say from an individual side, I'll just kind of compare two parts. There's the individual side, and then there's the business side. On the individual side, we are all a lot more familiar with what that looks like, because we've seen mom or grandma or a cousin or an uncle or a father go through some of these issues. If on the individual side you pass away and you have a will, legally a will does not become functional until it's triggered, and it's not triggered until someone dies. And so because of that natural course, a court is required to verify that this was the true final last will, which requires you go to court, and it's a process called probate. Assuming nobody fights about it, it's not super complicated, but it does cause a delay. It's a stressful period when families don't want to have to be going to court. Obviously, it's the least important thing at that time in someone's life, and yet it can become important if they need access to accounts and finances, etc. So a will by itself is a problem on the individual side, which is why I always recommend families or individuals put together a trust while they are alive, a revocable trust, so that it is funded and effective while they are alive, so nobody's going to court later, and that they can still change and make amendments throughout their life. That's why it's called revocable. On the business side, a will doesn't work at all. Like, you can't just will your business. Your business has to be structured in a certain way to where the ownership and the control is transferred the right way. A business is considered a piece of property, and if it's going to be transferred, it has to be done the right way, or else, families and those who have claims on that business will end up in court. And I've seen this happen a lot. The owner of a company has an accident, whether it's on the job or not, doesn't matter. They pass away. They didn't have all the documents in order. The company can't make payroll. Nobody can access the bank. Nobody can execute leases. Nobody can sell the business assets until you go through a court process and deal with those potential issues. So although they sometimes overlap between business and personal, they are definitely separate procedures. My approach is kind of a four-step process where, number one, we make sure the family's organized the right way. And then number two, we look at the business. And then number three, we look at the asset protection overall strategy. And then finally, we look at tax planning if it's necessary. And we kind of just fall off that four-step process when it makes sense for us and for our financial reality. I hope everybody has to go through tax planning at some point, but what that means is that you have an estate that's about 10 million or plus. So I hope everybody gets to that stressful time in life to have to worry about planning for it. Maybe for most of us, we'll never get there, but that's the plan. Most people just deal with personal, like family stuff, business stuff, and a little bit of asset protection. That's the majority for business owners.
Wonderful. Thank you.